All right, in this video, we're going to see a little bit on pushing the objects around and being able to select a bit more, and then we'll end up making something. So I'm going to start, just to prove a point here, I'm going to start by just putting a plane in here. And let's say I wanted this plane to have basically be like a New York cityscape with different blocks having big skyscrapers. So right now, if I wanted to go and pull out a skyscraper, well, that's not what a skyscraper looks like, right? And so we have this problem right now of the edges are sloped. And because I'm not able just to pull this face directly out. Show you very easily, we're going to have a new tool that we'll use called Extrude. And that's right over here. If we're using this, what do they call this tool? The modeling toolkit. We can go to Extrude. And I can pull the guy out now, and now I have a face pulled out. Pretty cool. Just to be aware, this is fine going the opposite direction in this one. When we get to having, that's because this is just a plane. This can cause problems in some cases of having a face. If there was something already in there, having a face on top of another face, which if you have two faces on top of each other, everything gets a little bit screwy and it draws them both at the same time and they start to flicker. So we never want to have, say, a face directly on top of another face. But in this case, this is totally fine. And let's add some more. So I could go here and just say I wanted this whole area to be one. I could go and pick another one and pick another one and pick another one and pick another one. But you can imagine if I had 100 of these, this is going to really suck. So some tricks we can do. We can just click and drag using the marquee tool. And then by holding shift, I can get rid of whatever squares I don't want to add. That's a possibility. I can, again, just hold shift to keep picking what I want. So this is called the marquee tool. Or you can do a combination of, say, maybe I'll pick all of this, but then hold shift to subtract those. Again, there's no right way. It's just you do different tricks to get what you're trying to get. I can also use going over here to the selection. I can change it from a marquee to a drag. So if I just want to say pick all of these, you can see I'm just clicking and dragging now, and wherever my mouse goes is now going to get selected. I might use a combination of these. Maybe I'll choose these and then hold shift and maybe add a couple here. Maybe I'll add a couple here. I'm not really any rhyme or reason to what I'm doing. Cool. And now, if I go back to the extrude tool again, by clicking on extrude, now when I pull up here, we have a whole bunch of different faces that we can, here, I'm going to change it back to this pick marquee. So these aren't all chosen individually, so I extruded individually, so if I move them up and down, they're still connected. If I wanted these to be a different height, I'd have to extrude those as well. So just something to be aware of. So this helps us a lot already for sort of shaping these things up into what we want to shape up. Let me show you one more possibility here. It's going to allow us to build something cool. So I'm going to go over here to IKEA, and this is the classic LAC IKEA table. And one reason I'm just looking at an existing piece is to base stuff off of something that's real. But also what's really nice with most furniture sites, if you go to, say, product size, we get a nice thing full of dimensions. And it tells us this is 45 centimeters by 55 by 55. Just as a note, I'm basically going to work in metric for the semester. The reason why is it's a lot easier to go from smaller units of centimeters to meters than to go inches to feet. And right now, I think the default for Maya and Unreal is everything set up metric as well. I'm going to even make this even more simple. Even though this says 45 by 55 by 55, I'm just going to do 50 by 50 by 50, although you'll see it wouldn't be that big a deal to change it up. So first thing I'm going to do is make the tabletop. So I'm going to go here and make a cube. And I'm going to click on this box to get the options here. And I've already set it up. And basically, I'm setting up, quick note is you might notice I've set it up to be 5 instead of 50, where our table is 55. I'm setting this up just to be 5. Why am I doing that? Well, I could make this 50 by 5 by 50. all that it means is it's just going to be really big on this grid. And we can make the grid bigger in Maya, but that's a whole other ball of wax. So I'm just going to scale it down by 10. It's not really that big a deal. We just have to remember when we get back to Unreal to scale it back up by 10, and you'll see that. But I do want to make sure I'm keeping everything sort of in the right scale here, because basically, if I don't, then things are going to be weirdly sized. You know, I'll have a table the size of my guy, or my table will be the size of a cat, and it's going to be a pain to sort of scale things up and down. So I'm just going to go down by 10 here and do 5, 0.5, 5. So it's going to fit on the grid nicely. Create. And now we have a tabletop. Next thing I'm going to do is look at this tabletop, and we're going to move it up so that it's where it should be. The tabletop shouldn't be buried in the ground. We'll have it up. I think it said that the thing was 5 tall, so I'll move it here. And I can even be more precise. I know how big everything is, so 4.75. We'll put it... Oh yeah, quick note, I did just change view here to make it as easy as possible. So I'm hitting spacebar to go to all these different views. So basically you hit spacebar, and wherever your mouse ends up is where the space is. All right, so I got a lovely tabletop, and now I want to pull some table legs out of this. The problem is I only have one face here to work with. I can't really pull out a little tiny corner of it. So we're going to need to divide this object up. And this is going to be a new tool that we haven't seen before. So I'm going to go to this top view just to make it as simple as possible. The new tool we're going to see here is under Mesh Tools, and it's called Insert Edge Loop. And when I click on this, nothing happens, but it's telling me to click and drag on edges. Watch what happens when I click on the edge here, where I'm going to want to add an edge loop. So I'll go and put the mouse right there. And lo and behold, it just added a division. What did it do? It's now made this area as a face, and this is a face. And I'm going to do this again over here. So now we have this is a face, this is a face. So we have 3 faces on top. I'm going to do this 2 more times. I clicked on this side to divide it up this way, and I clicked on this side to divide it up this way. So now we have, it's taken our one face and made 9 out of it. Just so you know, I'm going to switch out of this view, and you can actually see it's done it all the way around while I've done this. So you might, you don't want to go absolutely nuts with this thing, because my object that earlier was just 6 faces is now something like, what was it? 9, it's 18 plus another, what is that? Another 12. So our object was 6 faces. It's now 30 faces, which means it's going to take a bit longer to draw in with the GPU. Obviously, 30 faces is not that much for a powerful computer, but we don't want to just go absolutely bonkers with this. So we want to do the least number of faces necessary. I'm going to go now. Let's go to, I don't need to go to under view. So now I'm looking at the bottom of my table, and I'm going to use that same trick we just did with extrude. Whoops. I often do this mistake. I'm still on insert edge loop because I haven't changed the tool. Common mistake. I do it all the time. So let me go and pick just the corner faces. And now if I extrude these, we now have something that's looking like a table. I can go to the side view and try to get this exact as possible. Or if I'm in, I know that the bottom here, if I'm just moving these now, I know the bottom is 0. And now I have a lovely table. Quick note, I'm going to want to make sure I'm saving my work, especially with Maya. You want to save all the time. It's prone to crash. So I'm going to go to File, Save Scene As. And by default, it's going to want to bury stuff way down here into some Documents folder. You're going to want to navigate and sort of go through your stuff and find where you want to save things. Quick note, please don't save things in your actual Unreal project. For now, it's just going to add bloat to it, and Maya files we're not going to bring Maya files into Unreal. We'll talk later about how to get our object into Unreal. So I've made a folder called Maya files, and I'm going to click and drag this guy over, And what it basically will do is make a bookmark so I can always come back to this thing. I've already actually saved my table, so we're all good. One other thing here. What if we wanted to kind of not make this thing look so blocky? Now, we've made the IKEA table, but maybe we're just basing it off the IKEA table, and we want something that looks a little less modern, cubic. What could we do? I'm going to show you one more tool here. So I'm just going to pick this one edge to start with. I've picked all 3 edges of this edge. You can sometimes get away with double clicking, and you can see it's picked all 3. So I've chosen an edge, not a face, but the edge. And when I'm going to click this bevel tool here, and you can see it's sort of flattened it out. And we can, it's not rounded, but we have options here. I can choose how much it's going to sort of round it out there. And we can subdivide it as well. So I could add a ton of divisions and really round this thing out. Now, you could go absolutely bonkers with this. This is something that people who've done 3D modeling before, but not for gaming, will go absolutely bonkers. But we've just added 36 faces here. And if I zoom out, say the table will be this big on the screen, I don't need to add all these faces. All I'm doing is making the object more complicated. So what's the right answer? Well, it depends on the object. It depends on what you're trying to do. So I like to make it just enough so it's not going to look pixelated, but you want to do the least amount possible to make it work. And so that's basically how we could round an edge. I'm going to undo everything I just did because I'm going to do all the edges of the table, of the top here. So I'm holding Shift to basically choose every top edge. And now I can hit bevel and get away with, I think that is going to be fine. And now we have a nice rounded top on our table. Pretty cool. So these are some of the tricks of using bevel, edge loop, etc. to kind of get by with making more natural looking geometry. And so, I mean, this stuff would be, doing variations of this would give us a lot of room to make other things for our Unreal world. So at this point, I would definitely pause the video, practice some of these things, see if you could make something different. Maybe you want to make a dining room table. Maybe you want to even take a stab at a basic chair or a sofa. And there's a lot of things to kind of think through when tackling that, and you'll run into problems, but just getting used to the tools.